Starting off this video, I want to say that I absolutely love Animal Crossing New Horizons. I mean, I've already racked up thousands of hours playing, and honestly, I don't think there's a single Animal Crossing game I really dislike. Let's just forget about this one though. But whilst New Horizons innovated the series in so many different ways with amazing quality of life upgrades, new features and ways to play, it also took some steps backwards too. For example, I hate the fact that some of our absolute favorite characters from the past games were simply replaced with kiosks or items around the map. When I asked what my viewers particularly disliked about New Horizons, Waffle56 reminded us all that a lot of our favorite NPCs from the past games are now gone, vanished, kaput. And they're right, this is really a major blow to New Horizons in terms of the overall charm of the game. After all, these special characters and buildings and such we could access to use these features were really big parts of the game. And without them, it definitely feels like something major is missing that every other Animal Crossing game had. For example, we have the Lost and Found building being replaced with merely a drop-off box in Resident Services. Resident Services has already consolidated so many other different features that it feels a shame it had to do this as well. I get that maybe they wouldn't want to add in a whole separate building to our islands to have the Lost and Found, but maybe they could have had a separate room in Resident Services where we could meet Copper and Booker and also access all of the items that we had been missing. Or it could even be an offshoot of the airport or something, just somewhere else for us to visit rather than merely a drop-off box. The convenience of the drop-off box is a good thing, but not when it is sacrificing some of the most beloved characters and features that we had in the past games. And a major one for so many people is the post office. I miss Pete, Pelly, and Phyllis so much, and I never thought I would say I would miss Phyllis given how mean she is. But that is what was great about the post office. You had these characters with real backstories. There was a love triangle between these three characters which was so interesting. And even putting that aside, having a cute little post office in your town where you could mail your letters directly to your villagers felt really special. And in Animal Crossing New Horizons, I have to say, I rarely ever mail letters. I think it's something that I've probably done a maximum of like 10 times. Again, I can maybe understand them not wanting to have a whole building for the post office on our islands. Sure, I get that, it's a deserted island, so why would it have a post office? Fair enough. But still, they could have integrated these characters in some way. Why do we not see Pete walking around our island mailing letters like he did in the past games? Someone still has to send these letters out, so I don't really understand that. And maybe Phyllis and Pelly could have arrived for some sort of special new event or something where you have to mail out a lot of letters. I'm just spitballing, but I feel like it shows there's a lot you could do with these different characters, and I really miss that. Speaking of charm and personality, the villagers can also be a big problem for a lot of players, and villager dialogue is probably one of the most complained about things I see, and it's really justified. As Penguin Pudding put it, the villagers often feel more like cosmetics than actual living, breathing people. I mean, they aren't living or breathing, but you get what I mean. It's such a shame because there are some flashes of really great dialogue in Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I definitely think that it is overshadowed by how many times your villagers repeat the same things again and again, which makes them feel very robotic. They have actually improved since Animal Crossing New Leaf in my opinion, where in that game villagers would just kind of wander around aimlessly like complete robots. At least now they run around and sing songs and such. I do like that, but it feels like the dialogue definitely took a bit of a hit, which is a shame to me. Chatting with your neighbors and getting to know them was such a big part of Animal Crossing in the very first game, and it kind of does feel like in each iteration since then it has gotten less and less. Wild World was still really good, City Folk had a lot of good but it got a little bit worse, and then in New Leaf that really feels like where we started to see the villagers lose a lot of their personality, especially the meanness and the kind of rudeness that you've probably seen a lot of from the past games. They didn't really do that in New Leaf and they definitely don't do it in New Horizons. I think there is nuance to this. Nintendo doesn't have to make the villagers super rude or mean again, they just have to give them more realistic and grounded dialogue. Some of the things they say are just way too nice and it doesn't add up, especially if you've just met these villagers on your island, so I would love to see our villagers get more personality again in the next game, and for there to be even more varied dialogue. Nintendo, you don't have to rewrite the dialogue for the game from scratch every single time. You could reuse some of it for the next game and then just add on to that more and more and you'd have so much dialogue to go from. Now, New Horizons absolutely innovated a lot when it comes to quality of life. I mean, the fact that we can now upgrade our storage, use tool rings, have outdoor storage sheds, it's incredible, and I love that about this game so much. But surprisingly, they also neglected to really improve upon what they'd already started when it came to upgrading the game later on. A lot of us expected we'd see improvements to the crafting system, like bulk crafting, but nope. For some reason, Nintendo did not want to add this one. As a man with a plan said, even getting the right materials to craft items can be such a hassle, which is really weird because crafting is like the feature of the game. You're required to craft so often, yet Nintendo didn't really take the time to innovate it. I think the reason why we didn't get bulk crafting is because Nintendo didn't want us to play the game too fast and have really easy access to everything. But then when you consider how streamlined they made other things like turning characters into kiosks, it makes you wonder why they couldn't have just added this in. It's true that Animal Crossing is a slow-paced game in nature, but still, I don't think bulk crafting would have affected the game too much. It would have just made a lot of players happy. It's really interesting to me how this one always seems to be near the top of people's lists when it comes to things they wanted to see for New Horizons. Also, do you ever feel like some of the items around our island are just kind of pointless? Like, we have all this fairground equipment that our villagers could be playing with, but they don't, which is such a shame. Like Heather says, it'd be great if a lot of these items had some more interactiveness than compared to what we've got. You might have seen villagers playing with a lot of the really cool items that you can access in Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, although a lot of those items are locked behind microtransactions, so it'd be better if we had the New Horizons versions where we can just collect them ourselves in-game, and our villagers would actually use them. It would certainly make collecting and showing a lot of these items around your island feel that much more worth it if they could actually do something with them. Now, let's talk online. Back in Animal Crossing New Leaf, online play was at its peak. There was so much to do, so even if you had to wait around a little bit for players to come visit you, it was all worth it because then you could head to Tortimer's Island and play a ton of little mini games, or even go to Club Tortimer and play alongside strangers, which was sometimes a bit iffy, but I appreciate that Nintendo gave you options even if you didn't have any friends who really played the game. Now, all of this is missing, and as many of you have pointed out, we're faced with so many loading screens, basically having to pause everything every time a single person wants to come to our island. It definitely feels like the online experience was not a priority for Nintendo with this game, which is odd, as it was actually the first time you can play with so many people. That really confuses me. I definitely feel like Nintendo could have put a little bit more time and effort into the online experience, especially now that we have to pay for Nintendo Switch Online. There's so much they could do, and the past Animal Crossing games definitely show that. But let me know in the comment section down below, what are some of the things that you hate about Animal Crossing New Horizons? Obviously, I feel like most of us have a lot of love for this game, I certainly do, but I think it can be constructive to point out some of the things that weren't so good as well. Hopefully Nintendo will take notes, as a lot of these complaints I shared in the video have been shared far and wide by players now. If you made it to the end, be sure to comment Bob's Gang down below so I know you did. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on channel notifications for more.